Hello and welcome to section 4. In this section, we're going to be creating a game called Tilt Maze. Now, Tilt Maze is really nice as a first foray into the 3D engine, especially if you've already learned about the 2D engine. We're going to be able to apply a healthy number of concepts that we explored in the previous sections to this upcoming game, even though we've added a whole other dimension. So the basic idea behind Tilt Maze is that it is a maze with a ball in it. You tilt the maze, it'll make the ball roll around, and eventually the ball will exit the maze, which is the goal that the player wants to get to. But before we do any of this, we have to make that ball. Now, in this video, we won't have the maze yet. I'll cover that in a future video. For now, we're just going to have this placeholder floor node so that the player ball just doesn't fall infinitely down into the void. In this video, we won't have the actual maze yet. I'll explain how to get that in a future video. I'll put a placeholder floor node so that the ball doesn't just fall down infinitely into the endless uncaring void, but apart from that, we'll be focusing in this video on how to set up a node in 3D. Now this will involve creating a Rigidbody node, or if you're watching this by the time Godot 4.0 rolls around, it might actually be called a Rigidbody 3D node. But anyway, in order to have the graphical counterpart to our object, we'll be using a mesh instance with a standard sphere shape. For collision, we'll be using a collision shape node. Hopefully you can see this is very closely analogous to what we've already done with the 2D engine. Each node just represents another component of this entity. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is create, well, the main scene first. I'm going to create this 3D scene, and you may notice this time it doesn't kick us out of the 3D view. We're actually still here. You can hold down the middle mouse button to scroll around, zoom in and out, and if you hold down right click, you can look around and use WASD. I think the arrow keys. Nope, not the arrow keys, just WASD to move around, and hold shift to move extra fast. There's a real quick navigation tutorial for you also. So I'm going to create first the rigid body, which is going to become our player, and I'm just going to name this player. Next, I can create a mesh instance, just like that. And I'll give it a spherical mesh, because you need spheres. So I'm just going to scale this mesh down actually. I'm going to go here to radius and height. Now for some reason height has to be double the radius, so I don't know why radius is horizontal it looks like and height is vertical, but there you go, we have to do that. Yeah, but we can now just go and do a collision shape, and that'll basically be the same process, I would imagine. It's still using the same shape resource. These are just the same things being handled in a slightly different way. We will be able to change this to 0.75, and for some reason, it just works. Now you can see there's this faint blue outline, which represents collision shape. Now, collision shapes are always in wireframes, for some reason. But it's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and hide that collision shape to stop the unnecessary clutter. Now, if I save this first as something like main, or I'll make a scenes folder, I'll put it here. I'll press the play button. Nothing shows up because we don't have a camera yet. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to create this camera object, and I'm just going to scroll it a bit out, and then I'm going to set it to current. Now this is not really a fully functional camera. As you can see, the ball just sort of drops straight down. That's not great. So what I'm also going to do is add a floor. So I'm going to go back up to this main spatial node. I'm going to create a static body. I'm going to put it behind the camera, I think. I'm going to add a mesh instance. Just again, the same process as what we did with the player. Do cube, which we can then flatten a bit. You can change, or you can decide how flat to make this. It's completely a matter of, you know, your personal game development opinion. Is this good? Yeah, that's okay. That'll do. And now we just need to add a collision shape. And then I'm just going to add a box shape, which should be the same as the cube. I'm going to look at the extents for the mesh instance here. So, well, what I should really be looking for is the transform. So our scale is 7. Well, it's this stuff, so I'm just going to copy this into the collision shape. And since the shape that we're using is basically the same, we didn't modify this resource all that much, this scale stuff should work. Now, scale is probably not the optimal way to do it. It would probably be better to actually directly change the extents of the shape. but I'm lazy and I just want this to happen at the moment. So basically, that's it. We've created our player character for what it is. I mean, it just falls down and stops because there's no logic there.